side that you don't know. I can't wait to get you all alone. Once I'm in, there ain't no letting go. Mind games until you lose control.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's up, traders? What's going on? Welcome back and happy. Hold on, what day is it? Is it Wednesday? Oh boy, hump day! I just love saying hump day. What's up? Good morning. Welcome back, traders, and happy Wednesday. I'm always excited to be here. You guys know I love being here. I love working with you guys. I'm really excited to see what we have in store for today. I'm seeing some amazing opportunity in the market. I'm dialed in. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have some fun, and I'm ready to make some money with the best team out there. You guys are the best of the best, and I love you all. So let's have some fun today. Let's make it happen, and let's crush this market. Who do we got inside of chat this morning? Who is ready to rock and roll? Let's see. Who do we got right now? We got William in the house. What's up, William? Stir, Steve, AJ. What's up? The Zach Attack, Joey, Trader, Adam, Christy Q, Jason. What's up, guys? And if you haven't hit me with a good morning, start jamming. Come on. I want to see the good mornings. Let's go. I want to see chat popping off. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's get it. Stir, what's up? Jonathan. Good morning, Jonathan. I thought we had more profits and profits chat from this morning. Like, early birds are out here getting the worm. I love it. If you guys are over on YouTube, what's up, everybody? Good morning as well. Happy Wednesday. And I'm excited to be back for the pre-market rundown. We're going to take this time to get you guys prepared for today's trading session, talk about the SPY, the Qs, my top option plays for today, maybe some top penny stocks, and really just break everything down, give you guys my game plans, really set expectations for the day to help you come in prepared and confident to make money in the market, right? So this is where you want to be every single morning from 8:30 to 9:30 here on YouTube for the pre-market rundown. But good morning. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to start diving into it here in just a moment. But first, you need to hit me with a big old good morning as well if you guys are currently on YouTube. Number one, if you notice a little blurriness with the live stream, go ahead and readjust your quality settings, guys. Right, on YouTube. Just readjust your quality settings, take it from auto and switch it to 1440p, right? When it's on auto, it likes to be all grainy. If you manually switch your quality, it's crystal freaking clear, right? Just want to make sure that you guys are good. You can see everything. We are all set. Shannon, what's up? Logan, Moss, what's up, brother? Good morning. And then over on YouTube, we got Coffee, Tom, Johnny, Jesus, Carl. Good morning, everybody, over on YouTube. Let's officially start diving into it. And let's start with the SPY, guys. All right. We don't have anything in the economic calendar for today. We normally start with the economic calendar just to make sure we don't have data dropping when the market opens, make sure we're good to go. And when we look at the economic calendar, we don't have anything of high importance dropping today, right? You have crude oil stocks exchange data dropping at 10:30. It's of medium importance, not the type of data that really moves the market. So today we are in the clear, which is awesome. So we're going to go right into the technicals, really start breaking down the SPY. All right, and here's the first thing that I want you guys to be very, very mindful of. And go ahead and get this marked up on your charts. Is this gap that we've been talking about all week here on the SPY, right? We do have, give me one sec. All right, we're good. Sorry about that. We do have that gap from Friday into Monday, right? And so we tried to get inside of that gap zone here yesterday, right? But we had a strong rejection, and we've just been getting rejected right around that initial gap zone that we've had that was created from Friday and the Monday, and we just could not break it, could not break it, could not break it. We've been struggling to get that move on up, but now we can actually see here in pre-market this morning, we're having no issues. We're inside of that daily gap zone here on the SPY. So the first area that I really, really, really want you guys to be paying attention to is the top end of this gap, right? And the top end of the gap could be at two different points, right? It's either going to be this lower shadow right here, right, which is right at 458.60, or it's going to be into the candle body, which is at 459, right? So sometimes the gap likes to get filled into the candle wick. Sometimes we like to fill the gap into the candle body, right? We don't know exactly which one's going to be respected for that possible gap fill. So go ahead and just be mindful of both of those, right? Go ahead and mark up that lower shadow and then mark up that candle body as well. And so here's what I'm expecting to see today. This is what I would like to see take place today. I'd like to see a gap fill rejection to the short side, okay? And so what is that? That's when the stock fills a gap, right? If we're looking for a gap fill rejection, we want to see a gap getting filled to the upside, right? So we know that the gap could be getting filled here at 458.60, or it could be off that candle body, right, from Friday's close at 459.03. No matter which level it hits, I'm waiting to see how price develops and how price reacts at one of these two levels, right? For a possible gap fill rejection where we come up, fill the gap, we top out, we get rejected, and we start to roll on over and drop on off. So if we see the SPY truly closing this gap with a daily candle, right, where this technically doesn't count as a gap fill because this is all taking place here in pre-market. I want to see a daily candle actually close the gap, right? So for example, if the SPY starts hitting this level in pre-market and then dropping down, and we open here, for example, this gap technically wouldn't be filled because it would be getting filled in pre-market. It wouldn't be getting filled with a daily candle, right? Just want to make sure you guys understand that I have to see it actually fill the gap intraday. Right now, if we actually fill this gap in pre-market and start to drop, technically speaking, if the market opens like right here, this doesn't count for a gap fill because that would have happened in pre-market. I want to see it actually fill the gap after 9:30, right? But if we do open and we do see that gap get filled and we top out, I would be looking to get short for a gap fill rejection here on the SPY. I would look to place some puts for the next leg down. Where to? Right? There's a couple levels to the downside, right? The first area to the downside is going to be the lower end of the gap. That would put you at 457.59. All right, that would be the first level to the downside. The lower end of that gap, 457.59. Then my main target is going to be this multi-day uptrend, right? We can see here that if we go back into Thursday's low of day, connect Friday's low of day, and then if you zoom in here, you actually see that we had a beautiful touch point right there yesterday. This doesn't count right here. That was pre-market, right? So if you're like, well, Josh, it kind of cracked it right here, right? Wouldn't you draw the trend line off that low? No, I wouldn't. Why? Well, that's a pre-market low right here. This is an intraday low. So that's your technical intraday point number 3 right there on the SPY. 0.1, 0.2, there's your 0.3 from yesterday. All right. So that would be the next area to the downside that I would say the SPY could get to, would be back into that multi-day uptrend. Depending on if this plays out, how long it takes to play out, that would put you somewhere back down around like 455.50 to 456. Somewhere around that level, right into that trend line, guys. Okay? And so you already know what my game plan is to the short side. Looking for a daily gap fill rejection to get short, with the main target being that multi-day uptrend, right? But we always need to have an opposite plan in place just in case. What if the SPY holds that zone on up and starts to push and break higher? What if we see more long opportunity than short opportunity? What if we don't see that daily gap fill rejection? Well, I want to have a long plan in place just in case, right? So what would be the long plan? Well, let's go ahead and dive into the daily. What is this weird little line here? That should not be there, right? So we know where the gap level is. And here's one other thing I want to do. You see that 459.03 level? That's off the candle body. But you also see how close that level is to last Friday's close and the high from Monday. I actually want to remove that 459.03. And I would rather mark up this zone as that level of resistance. That's between 459.10 and 459.12, right? So the gap could be getting filled off the lower shadow here at 458.60. We just discussed it. Or that gap could be getting filled up against that candle close, right? But when I look at the daily, I actually see more valid touch points at this little zone compared to just that close from Friday. So I would say a gap getting filled, right? A little bit higher, but I would say better resistance, just 10 cents above that 459.03, right? Because that gap level off the candle close is 459.03, but I see a little bit more resistance slightly ahead between 459.10 and 459.12. So like 10 cents higher, right? So I would actually be utilizing that level of resistance to still see, like, are we going to have a gap fill rejection to the downside, right? Is the gap going to get filled off the lower shadow? Is it going to get filled right around that close? Those are two key areas of resistance to be paying close attention to. And if we see, it set up and provide us with a great short opportunity, these are a couple areas that I want to be keeping on watch to get short. But what if we push above these zones and just keep pushing? We don't fill the gap, if we don't top out, and if we don't roll on over, where can we see the SPY get to? Well, I would say first area, it's very obvious, right? We can all agree. Just right back up into Friday's high a day. That'll put you at 459.66 here on the SPY, guys. All right. So that's going to be the first area to the long side. 459. What was it again? 459.65. Okay. Then 460. That's a psychological level of resistance. But then just kind of zoom out, go back here, and this is going to be the next area of overhead resistance if we do indeed see the SPY continue to push higher today. The next main zone of overhead resistance on the SPY would be up here between 461.56 to 462.05 here on the SPY. Right, so these are going to be the two game plans that we have established. Why did that little zone? Oh, yeah, that's why. Sorry. I was like, why is that zone not populating here when I go back into my 5-minute time frames? Because I didn't draw it out far enough. All right, so those are the two game plans. And all of these zones are daily zones. Key significant levels of support resistance that we want to be paying close attention to. So again, game plan number one is the short plan. Right? If we fill the gap and we see it setting up for a gap fill rejection, we want to be getting short into that multi-day uptrend. If we see both of these levels break and we stay above it, right, and we have better long opportunity, and that's what we see at that point in time, I would look to play calls to 460 and then up into that daily zone of resistance that we just discussed, which is between 461.56 and 462.05 here on the SPY. If we see something like that take place, that's when I would be then looking to play calls for the next leg up. So we have our long plan in place. and we have our short plan in place just in case. Now we are at the mercy of the market. We got to wait for the market to come to us, set up, and then really just go from there. Okay. So do you have any questions about the SPY, right? The gap fill rejection plan. You know, what if we invalidate that idea and break those levels and hold, right? Do you guys have any questions about the call plan that we have in place as well, the long plan in place? We want to make sure it's very clear. You guys understand these levels, how I identified these levels, you know, and why my plans are my plans for today, right? Really want to set those expectations, make sure that you're prepared, but also make sure you guys are learning at the same time as we go through these breakdowns. And last thing that I want to point out, I'm sure we could all, you know, see this, and I'm sure somebody right now is thinking, Josh, could that be a little bit of a head and shoulders formation as well? It could, right? I do see that type of price action where that could be your left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Not only would you be filling the gap, that could also be creating a little bit of a right shoulder for that head and shoulders formation to play out. So not only looking for a daily gap fill rejection, but could also be a little bit of a left shoulder, head, right shoulder if we see that daily gap fill get rejected. So yes, I do see that formation as well. But the main thing that I'm watching, the main thing I'm keeping on watch here is that daily gap fill. You guys good? No questions inside of chat. What about YouTube? Any questions? Hey, Zeus, seems like a head and shoulders on SPY in the 30-minute. Yep, I knew someone was going to say, hey, looks like a little bit of that, you know, head and shoulders formation. I wouldn't disagree with you. And I would like that to set up. That would be nice, right? Not only getting that daily gap fill rejection, but also giving you one big head and shoulders formation at all of this overhead resistance. That can make for a really nice short trade to the downside if it plays out and follows through. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind as well here on the SPY. All right, guys. Perfect. Let's go ahead and go into the Qs. I don't really like the Qs today. I will say that. I'm not really a fan of the Qs, location, but it's very similar, right, to the SPY. We're looking to possibly come up and close this gap. So here's what I want to do. Run the gap into the body, right? Run the gap into the body here on QQQ. And the gap starts right off that high, right around 388.50. Okay, so we have this gap that could get filled here on the Qs. Okay, lower end of the gap is at 388.50. Top end of the gap is at 389.97. Okay, where are we at right now? Well, we're actually coming on up into that gap level. So we may be opening right at that daily gap level. And if we can't break it, that would make for a really nice short opportunity here on the Qs. Very similar trade idea as the SPY. We may have a possible daily gap fill rejection trade. That's what we would want to see to play puts for the next leg down. Okay. Where could we see the Qs go? Same thing as the SPY. We do have a multi-day uptrend that we could come down to and hit before we see a possible bounce. So that would be the target to the downside here on QQQ, would be that multi-day uptrend here. That would put you somewhere around like the 386s, right? Like the low 386s here on the Qs. That would be one of the first targets to the downside. That would be the game plan to play puts, okay? But just like the SPY, you always need to have an opposite plan in place just in case. So what's the opposite plan in place going to be? The long opportunity, right? What if we break through those levels and hold those levels as support, and we see the Qs looking strong, like we could see another leg to the upside? Where could we see QQQ go? Well, here's a couple areas that I see coming on up. First area to the upside would be this zone of resistance, right? You have candle close, candle open, strong rejection, high a day, high a day, high a day, all within this zone that's between 390.52 and 390.78 here on the Qs. That would be the next area of overhead resistance here on QQQ. Again, up around 390.52 to 390.78. I'm not really interested in the calls. Like at this point in time, looking at the daily, really doing our analysis on both the SPY and the Qs, like I'm not too interested in really wanting to play the market long. Doesn't mean I'm biased. I just don't see high time frame, long opportunity. So it's really going to have to set up clear intraday for me to want to get long. Right now, when I look at the daily, I look at the 1 hour, I look at the 5 minutes, right? I do see a lot of separate reasons that do suggest we have some great downside off that daily gap fill rejection, right? And a lot of downside. But if we break these gap levels, we do seem to be a little limited to the upside, especially with the Qs. So the Qs don't really excite me to the long side. The SPY doesn't look bad, right? The SPY, at least we have some upside here, right? At least we can see that, hey, there's some clear upside if we see the opportunity set up to the long side. But looking at the Qs don't really excite me to the long side. So I probably won't be entertaining a long on the Qs, even if we see the Qs setting up long. I'll put most of my focus on the SPY. Obviously, we'll probably see the SPY setting up for a long if the Qs are setting up for a long. For example, I just like the location of the SPY a lot more. I like where we're at. I like how much upside we have. I like how much downside potential that we have as well. So again, just want to come in completely unbiased, right? Really make sure my focus is on the best opportunity of the day. And I actually like the SPY today more than the Qs, right? So my focus is going to be with the SPY. And you already have my game plans in place for today's trading session, but we also have the game plan in place here for the Qs as well. If we do see the Qs filling that gap, we already know where we could see QQQ down to. And again, that's going to be that multi-day uptrend. So let's see if that plays on out. Let's see if we have a really nice put opportunity right at the start of the day, guys. Okay? You guys have any questions regarding the Qs before I move over into some of these large cap option plays for today? All right, let's move on to Microsoft. Let's see if Microsoft is still intact. It doesn't appear to be intact. I was looking for a gap fill rejection today on Microsoft as well. Where's Microsoft at? It's sitting at the top end of that gap zone. So this is what Microsoft would have to do for me to want to get in, right? The SPY would have to look weak. The SPY would have to have a gap fill rejection as well and start to drop. The Qs would have to look weak, fill the gap, get rejected for Microsoft to play on out. But if you're going to be watching Microsoft, right, if Microsoft falls back below 374.50 and we retest it with a lower high and we see that it's clearly staying below that level of resistance, you could have a daily gap fill rejection here on Microsoft, right? Here's a gap between 373.07 and 374.51. Okay, we are sitting right now at the top end of that gap level. Okay, if we do not fall back below 374.51, this trade is not intact. This trade is not going to validate itself. But if we do see Microsoft open, we come back below 374.51, bounce on up, retest it, stay below it, put in a lower high off that gap level of resistance, that's when you can look to get short down to 373.07 here on Microsoft. So that's going to be the game plan here on Microsoft if you're watching that, okay? Starbucks was beautiful. We were talking about the daily gap here a couple of weeks ago, and we finally came down last week. We entered the daily gap zone, and we just filled that daily gap yesterday down around this 94.98 region. You know, not really to the T, right? I was actually looking at that spiking high being the gap level. But when I bring this level down and connect all these points of resistance, it also puts you at 95 bucks. And 95 bucks is psychological support. So if you're looking at, Starbucks today, you may have a daily gap fill bounce, right? We have daily gap fill rejections like we see on Microsoft. Could be a daily gap fill rejection to the short side. We also have daily gap fill bounces, right? So I would be looking at Starbucks today to see if we open, pull back towards around 95 bucks. And if we hold, I would look to get long for a swing trade for a possible daily gap fill bounce, right? Where to? Maybe back up towards around $100 as my main target. That would be the top end of that daily gap, right? We were actually looking to get in here last Wednesday. We fell inside of that daily gap level. We stayed below it, and then from there, we've been straight down. I know Anthony took that trade. I don't know if he's still in it, but we cracked below it, held below it, and we've been fading and falling ever since, and we just closed that gap to the penny here yesterday. And so now we're looking for a possible daily gap fill bounce opportunity to play some calls to the long side, maybe back up towards around $100 as one of your main targets, okay? Tesla, I was looking at Tesla below like this 240-270 region, but we're starting to break above a lot of that overhead resistance that we have. I'm not a fan of Tesla right now. I'm really not. I mean, Tesla has great moves intraday, but right now, I don't see a lot to build a plan off of for Tesla. We have a lot to build plans on the SPY, the Qs, right? We have a lot right now to obviously build a plan here on Microsoft, right? Something stands out to me on the daily. Right now, nothing really stands out to me on Tesla on the higher time frames. We already know Tesla's going to set up intraday for a trade. It does nearly every day. But as far as having a plan in place, ready to go based on higher time frame opportunity, I don't really see a lot right now on Tesla. So it's always on the watch list. It's a great stock to trade. I love trading Tesla, but I don't really see a lot right now to really sit here and effectively build a plan to put my name behind it. So I'm going to have to wait for the market to open, come back and look at Tesla maybe 30 minutes in, I don't know, and see if there's ever a trade opportunity. Maybe we see something setting on up. But at this point in time, it's best to let the markets open on up. NVIDIA is still an idea for a swing trade coming on up, guys, right? NVIDIA could still be a decent little swing trade. I was literally just looking for NVIDIA to come up and back test that level of prior support as resistance. So if NVIDIA, my trading view has been all wonky lately. Been really wonky. And I was also looking at this little downtrend here as well, but that's a pretty steep one. That's a pretty steep one here. But I'm literally just looking to see if NVIDIA can come back up, back test and retest that prior level of resistance, that turned support, that we cracked below, and we may now retest as resistance again to get shorts for the next leg down for a nice swing trade here on NVIDIA. So if NVIDIA ever gets back up into that zone of potential resistance and we stay below it, I would like to get short for the next leg down. So that zone of resistance overhead on NVIDIA is between 476.16 and 477, right? That may not set up today. Actually, it may. Where are we at? Yeah, it'll probably get there today. So it depends on what NVIDIA does today, right? If we come on up and we top that zone and we just can't break above it, that's going to be an area where I'm looking to get short for that possible leg down. Now, could this be just a day trade off that zone? Absolutely. But do I think this could be a great day trade that turns into a decent little swing trade? 100%. So I want to make sure I'm getting positioned correctly if this sets up to not only secure profit today on a day trade, but also be positioned to hold some of this position overnight for the next day, 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever the case is, just in case we see some great follow through and this day trade turns into a pretty nice swing trade here, guys. But there was that trend line. I'm a little confused now because I had a pretty dialed in trend line here on NVIDIA, and it was in line with that zone, and I'm just like running a blank on where was that trend line. Maybe it was off these two highs. That was probably it. Just grabbing these two highs right here. I think that was it. Not only would that be a back test off that zone, it would also put you right into the trend line. And then I was running a fib along that move as well. All my TA got cleared out on NVIDIA. Those weren't my intentions, but a lot of it got cleared out. And that may also put you right around that fib retracement level as well. So main area, back testing that prior level of support as resistance also puts you into a 0.3 of this, multi-week downtrend. That would be an area where I would be looking to get short here on NVIDIA, right? Just trying to have as many separate reasons to take a trade as possible. Not just one, not just two, but as many as possible to be looking to take a trade, guys. And if you wanted to actually take that extension off that high into that big low back up to that high as well, right? You actually get a 50% extension as well. So from swing high to swing low, we're starting to bounce. That would also give you a 50% retracement into that zone of resistance, as well as being a 0.3 of that downtrend. 3 pretty solid reasons to be looking to get short on NVIDIA up at that zone. So I really want to keep NVIDIA on high watch for today, guys. I think there is some decent potential coming on up. All right, we know we have a trend line, 50% retracement, and a pretty solid zone of resistance. And that's really all I've got. I got Amazon on watch for the next couple of days. I don't think it's going to set up for the swing trade today. But if we top out for another day, I think we got a good swing trade. Check out Amazon. Left shoulder, head, a little bit of a potential right shoulder, back off that initial peak of resistance here. So again, I want to see 1 or 2 more days of seeing it top out at this level, right? It came up here, got rejected, came up again, got rejected. I want to see this come up, get rejected, come up, get rejected, then maybe think about getting short on Amazon, but it needs to really, really set up. It's more of a back burner right now. But the zone that I'm keeping on watch is between 174.22 and 174.32 on Amazon, which we're above it right now. So I'm not really a fan of it, right? But it's still a back burner. I mean, we could come back below that level, retest it, the trade still be intact. Who knows? But it's a back burner right now, guys. Okay? And then everything else is more or less like a swing trade on the watch list. So the main stocks to watch today, you got Microsoft. You guys are prepared on that. We got NVIDIA. Really want to keep this one on high watch. We have Starbucks for the possible daily gap fill bounce. And we got the back burners that we just discussed as well. But most of my focus here today, guys, obviously, here on the SPY, here on the Qs, for those possible daily gap fill rejections. BITF, 3 months plus new miners coming online right around the halving as per press release. Didn't pull the trigger yesterday. Bids weren't moving with the ask. I've been in BITF for a while. Bitfarms, yeah, I have some of those option plays going pretty far out. But give me 1 sec, guys. We still have about 18 minutes until the market opens. I need to step out of here for literally 2-3 minutes. But if you guys have questions, type them up. Keep holding it down. I will be right back. 3 minutes. We will continue the jam. We will continue the rock and roll. But I do need to take care of one thing real quick. And I'll be right back. And we'll start. We'll keep rocking and rolling. Uno momento. I lied. Didn't take 3 minutes. We're good. So we're back. All right. So that's going to be the watch list for the day, guys. Do you have any stocks you want me to review? I'm more than happy to get those reviewed for you. And make sure that you guys are also set, ready to rock with stocks on your watch list. Let's start making that happen as well, guys. If you guys are on TikTok, definitely come over to YouTube in the mornings, 8:30 to 9:30 for the pre-market rundown. We go live for about an hour. You can see my screen. You can see the examples. A lot better than just looking at my beautiful face. You still get my beautiful face on YouTube, but you also get the visual examples with my charts as well. All right. And if you guys come to YouTube, do us a huge favor, show some love and show your support if you do like these sessions. It means a lot if you guys subscribe to the channel, you hit the notification bell, and then you like the stream as well. I see we have 0 likes on the stream right now, and I know we're providing tons of value. I know that someone's learning something today, and so the least that you guys can do, takes like 5 seconds, really helps support these streams, is subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give that stream a like as well here on YouTube, and let's get those likes up. Really do appreciate it, guys. I pour a lot into this, if you guys can't tell. I pour a lot into these sessions that I do, so it means a lot. Ding, ding. Everybody's ready to go. Love it. All right, we are all set. Looking to see if we have any questions that come through. Make sure that you guys don't have anything on your watch list that you guys want to have checked out. Mommy's going to have to help you, okay? Wow, we got 23 likes. I had to refresh. We already had 23 likes. I saw 0. I refreshed. It showed we had 23. It looks like YouTube's spazzing right now. 24 likes. I appreciate you guys. It means a lot. So thank you so much. You're going to have to ask your mom, okay? Your necklace is broken? Well, you have to ask mommy, okay? Thanks, baby. Steve, S-E-R-A. Let's look at S-E-R-A real quick. And while we're breaking this down, if you guys want to learn more about working with us inside of our community, because we do go live for about 2 to 2.5 more hours after we end the YouTube and end the TikTok. And if you guys want to come work with us, learn to be better traders, become profitable, shoot me a DM on TikTok or go click the link in my bio as well. Learn more. Let's get connected. Let's see if we can help. I would love to chat with you and see, like, can we help you become a good trader? So make sure you guys do that. And I will always get back to your DMs as well. I will. So S-E-R-A. Let's take that back a little bit. So here's the first thing that I see is you have some resistance, broke above it, held it as support, back below it is resistance, back below it is resistance, and it's right around the 200 SMA as well. So that's the first zone that I see here on SERA. That's between 263 and 273. Where's the stock out in pre-market? We're above that zone. We are ripping. So we need to really start looking at these higher levels of support resistance. Where's this thing at? Right at $5. So let's go ahead and look more closer to that region there. There's going to be, I would say there's going to be some support back down around this region here on SERA, just right off all of these highs, right? Those highs of resistance, and we saw it really drop below it, retested it several times before dropping on off. So at least we know there's some support down there. But where's like overhead resistance? Obviously $5, right? Obviously $5 is going to be overhead resistance. It's psychological resistance. But then I would say this little zone right here between 576 and 598. We came down into it, low of day bounce, cracked below it, retested it, and dropped. That's going to be a pretty solid level of overhead resistance. So first area of close resistance here, it's going to be psychological resistance on SERA. That's going to be $5 buckarooskies, okay? Lower support right now, I would just put you back down, into this pretty broad, pretty big zone. But that's going to put you back down around like $4 to $4.25 is going to be some lower support. Top resistance right now, $5. If we ever see this thing breaking 5, we have potential to 576 and then 598. You're on SERA. So let's see how this thing's going to play on out, brother. But yeah, we have at least room up into the 570s and 590s here on SERA. We could also be, no. Yeah, watch SVSA. Back down off this daily zone of support. SVSA. We have support between 248 and 259 on SVSA. Keep that one on watch down around that lower zone of support. If we come down and hold it well, right, we see buyers stepping on in, we could see buyers come back in, and we could see a nice little bounce and a nice little move on up here on that's my dyslexia. I said SVSA. It's ZVSA. My bad. ZVSA. I am really dyslexic, guys. Z is in zebra. V is in Victor. S is in Sam. A is in Alpha. ZVSA. Down around that lower zone of daily support between 248 and 259. All right, keep that one on watch. I'm also going to be watching MLGO. MLGO is moving on up pretty nicely right now at this point in time. What I would do is, because I like this little uptrend that we have on MLGO, decent little uptrend, I would mark up all of that prior resistance that we had. No, I wouldn't, right? Because it's not as clean, it's not as clear. Let's go right back into the daily. Go right into the daily. Let's see what we got here on MLGO. We have some top resistance up here between 513 and 534. I mean, that's pretty clear and pretty obvious. Going to be a lot of overhead resistance up there. I'm seeing a pretty decent level of support. I like this zone, right? I do like this zone here. It's that spiking high before we had a pretty strong rejection. It was our break and retest level as well. That's going to be a pretty solid level here on MLGO. That level's between 466 and 474. And this is going to be a pretty decent level of lower support. I mean, I say decent because it's just decent. I think we could readjust that level a little bit. It actually looks a lot better right through this region here. Right there. 388 to $4. I like that region a lot more. Spiking high rejection. We hit it several times as resistance. Nice little break and retest. Then you had a nice little crack and retest right there. So that's going to be a pretty decent little level here on MLGO as well, between $3.88 and $4. And that level is in line with the trend line. So you see what I did? I was trying to base my zone off pre-market data points. And I said, no, let's not do that. Let's go right to the daily. Went right to the daily, came back to the 5-minute, and surprisingly, it's in line with that trend line now. That daily zone of support now just so happens to be right where this uptrend is. So I would actually watch this for a possible 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 bounce off the trend line, and that trend line is right at that daily zone of support between $3.88 and $4. We would have room back up into the 460s and then 470s here on MLGO. Let's absolutely keep that on watch as well, guys. So those are going to be some decent penny stocks. MLGO, I like it. I think there's great potential. SERA, it needs to pull back first, right? It absolutely needs to pull back first. But if we can see this break and retest off $5, you can catch along up into the 580s and 590s here on SERA. Keep this one on high watch. And then ZVSA, it's on the bottom of the watch list. It doesn't look as great, but just watch it down here around that lower zone of support between 248 and 259. But I would say my top two penny stocks, you got MLGO that looks pretty decent, and you got SERA, looks pretty good as well. Those would be the top two pennies that I would focus on right at the start of the day. Do we already got some profits here in profits chat? Let's go. Who do we got locking in profits this morning? We got Mr. Steve Carby. Great way to start off the month of December. $715 on SERA. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Way to go, brother. Way to go. I'm locking in a whopping 188.50. Had 2 trades this morning. I took a trade on KMDA to the short side. I love when stocks are easy to borrow. Saw a really nice short right here on that crack and retest off resistance for the next leg down. Quick little scalp, nothing too crazy. And then tried to take a stab on this dip buy right here on ZVSA. Tried to take a little dip stab on this dip buy, and it just kind of chopped. I didn't like it too much, so I cut it for a $90 loss. I'm off like 188 bucks on a couple small pre-market trades. You know, base hits do add up, guys. Base hits do add up. So I'm starting the day green, which is wonderful. But I'm really excited for what we have in store today, especially looking at the SPY and the Qs. But good job, Steve. Way to come in and way to get some early bird profits, man. The early bird getting the worm. Early bird getting the worm. Pow. Pow. So we talked about MLGL. Chris T, I was way ahead of you, man. Can you show how you came up with your support and resistance for the SPY? What, this overhead zone here of resistance? That overhead zone of resistance is just going all the way back into this prior level here before that big drop on off. That's how I came up with that zone right here on the SPY, okay? The other 2 zones here, right, these gap levels, go into a 1-hour time frame, turn your pre-market off, and look at the 1 hour. You see that we have this gap right here on the SPY. There is this gap on the SPY here, okay? So that's how I came up with these 2 levels from that gap zone on the SPY. Right now, we came up to the top into the gap level, got rejected, we broke it, we retested it, and now we're moving on up. So, I mean, if we stay above 458.60 today, there's upside here on the SPY, right? But if we ever fall back below 458.60, retest it with a lower high, I'm getting short. I'm getting short. So the line in the sand officially, we finally have a nice line in the sand based on some of this price action here on the SPY. 458.60 is my line in the sand for today. That's my lits, right? That's a make or break. We come back down and hold it, we have potential to the upside. We play calls. We fall back below it, retest it with a lower high. That's a great short opportunity, and that's when we look to trade puts on the SPY. Line in the sand, 458.60. You're on the SPY today, guys. Wham bam. Ba-da-dum-bam. Loving it, loving it. Steven here, locking in some profits this morning. I can dig it. All right, so the market's going to open in about a few minutes. We are going to go ahead and end the session on YouTube, end the session here on TikTok as well. Thank you guys so much for being here and tuning in. If you guys want to learn more about working with us, again, shoot me a DM on TikTok. I do respond to all of my DMs. And if you want to just go ahead and start looking to take those next steps, you can also go click the link in my bio. It's a link tree. And you can actually go down to where it says Market Mastery. Learn more about the coaching programs we have. See if, it even makes sense. See if we can help you. Let's get connected and help you become a better, more consistent, more profitable trader, guys. All right, so that applies to everybody on YouTube and TikTok. Shoot me a DM or go click the link in my bio. If you're on YouTube, you can click the link in the description on the video as well to learn more, and we can get connected and see if we can help you guys out. All right, so have an awesome day. Stay blessed. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to the pre-market rundown. I hope you guys found some value and education within the session, and also getting prepared for the day, coming in with some confidence, ready to attack it, ready to lock in some amazing profits. Trade smart, trade safe. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you guys back here tomorrow morning on YouTube right at 8:30 for the pre-market rundown. Take care, guys, and I'll see you then.